experience at the CSE.
The Colombo Bourse resumed its ascent yesterday with the all-share price index gaining 1.38% and the Milanka price index gaining 1.7%. Today, the all-share price index gained 1.92% while the more liquid Milanka price index gained 2.9% at close of trading. A similar scenario was witnessed mid-last year when the all-share price index climbed to 7,816 and the Milanka price index to 7,327. However, as many predicted, the bubble burst and the CSE nosedived, leaving in its wake many a small-time investors in financial ruin. The carnage was such that the ASPI crashed by 1,742 points while the Milanka shed a whopping 2,098 points. Is history repeating 1 year later? This is the question on the minds of many analysts and investors today. What makes the market so suddenly, only to come down to earth with a thud? Recently, Tilak Karunaratne, the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the regulatory authority of the Colombo Stock Exchange, explained.
This is the ASPI performance from 1985 to August 2012. June, to be exact, somewhere in 2nd June 2009, it was here. And then within almost a year and a quarter, this was around 1,400 level. It went up to 7,800. It's such a steep increase we have not seen in any other bourse, any other market. The euphoria was there, it is true. After the war victory, people were very confident about the future and more retail investors came into the market. That's a fact. But it was not the major contributor. The major contributor was the people who came into the market with almost nothing and using unfair means pumping up the market to reach extremely high levels.
The two former chairpersons of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Indrani Sugadasa and Tilak Karunaratne, who attempted to regulate the market with the intention of curbing this erratic behavior, ended up having to tender their resignations. Following the most recent resignation, that of Karunaratne, a new chairman, Nalaka Godaheva, was appointed to the SEC. The appointment has seen an almost magical resurrection at the Colombo Stock Exchange, with media reports indicating that the stock exchange has been ranked amongst the top exchanges in the world for its performance over the past 4 weeks. We asked Dr. Harsha De Silva about this phenomena, its repercussions and possible impact on investors.
What we are seeing in the market is what we saw about a year ago. Useless shares are going up in price. I'm not saying some of the blue chips are going up in price. That's also happening. But essentially, there are penny stocks, useless shares being, the price being driven up by members of the mafia. Essentially, A buys from B at say 20 rupees, then B buys again from A at 30 rupees, then again A buys from B at 40 rupees and so on. So what is happening is a small parcel of shares being transferred among a small group of people. But the outside, the small investor is thinking, look, this price is going up. So he's in the expectation of making a lot of money down the road, is buying into these shares. So this is still in the pumping stage. This is the pumping. What happens is, at a certain point, when the price has reached what the mafia expects it to, then they will start selling. So that is the dumping stage, which hasn't still happened. When that happens, the small investors will be stuck with a large amount of shares that has no real value.
If there are allegations of market manipulation, should the rule of law reign supreme and justice be allowed to take its natural course, like in the rest of the country, or is the stock market above the law? Chandra Jayaratne, the former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, had this to say.
The rule of law is justice and fairness and transparency. These are critical elements that a governance of a country must have. It impacts equally on the stock exchange, and if these four factors are not present, and very especially in the stock exchange where transactions relate to accounts which are presented, if they are not transparent, if they are not professional, if the people who stand behind those transactions are not fit and proper persons, you cannot build confidence in a market. If there have been any malpractices of the past which have not been handled and which will not be handled professionally, with independence and with openness in the future, people will lose further confidence. The lack of confidence will be a death knell to this country's future development, facilitated through the investments generated out of a stock exchange.
We have to look at this problem beyond the Securities and Exchange Commission. The days gone by, if a village criminal was either about to be caught or was caught, politicians will influence the OIC of the police station, and the OIC might get transferred to some difficult station, and the crook will remain free. And there are multiple examples of that happening even amongst politicians in the last few years. So one has to look at the SEC and what is happening in the SEC in the larger frame of the breakdown of law and order and democracy.
An article that appeared in the Island newspaper today perhaps encapsulates the going-ons at the CSE in its final paragraph.
The way forward, they also say, is for reconciliation. In other words, there is no need for a criminal justice system, laws or regulations. Criminals can now opt for reconciliation to avoid justice. The whole idea is laughable. Criminals don't belong around a reconciliation table, they belong in jail.
Join us again tomorrow on Barbarians at the CSE as we continue our investigations into the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Barbarians at the CSE.